Good morning. Welcome to the Premium Public Video Forecast discussion for Friday, February 27th, 2026. Last Friday of February. Next time we chat, it will be March. That means we're getting ready for spring. And there's definitely a pattern change on the way, but there's a couple of details we really need to go over first. First, I have some great news from Johns Hopkins and from the CDC. The flu and all the other nasty viruses out there are really declining rapidly throughout the New York City and Philadelphia metropolitan areas, and also we're seeing that nationwide as well. So that's some great news. Hopefully any of your kids or elderly or whatnot may be sick. Well, hopefully we get them all healthy and we get ready for spring. And then we have to deal with allergies. Isn't that fun? But at this point, with all this snow, I'll deal with the allergies because I am pretty much done with this snowy environment. I know you are too. I'm hearing the complaints, but don't worry. Changes are on the way. One big change is that we are losing our cold look for Enzo. All right, La Nina is dead. It's been dead, but now it is dead. It is, the corpse is buried. There's no longer any type of cold anomalies around the Nino zones. Again, your cold anomalies are south of the equator, which is south of the Enzo zones, so not really a factor here. You have some cool locations here in Nino 1+2, but other than that, as you can see, the warm water is dominating. Now, Nino 1+2 is the shallowest area, so it has the greatest fluctuation overall if you have any type of storms or whatnot. So that certainly is a factor. But other than that, we are seeing some pretty significant changes in terms of tropical forcing. The MJO doesn't really show it all that much yet if we jump to that data. But as you can see, it's expected to head towards a phase 7, possibly a phase 8 by the end of March, which is certainly interesting. But understand, by the time we get to late March, phase 7 and 8 means more wetter weather. I've been hearing some noise out there about the potential for, winter coming back in late March. Sure, for northern New England, Green and White Mountains, late some spring skiing, absolutely. Maybe the Rockies, sure, absolutely. But for the northern Mid-Atlantic, with a sun angle that high, now you're talking about sun angles similar to what you would get for mid-September at this point. And you're also talking about really maybe even early September. And at that point, you can get a cold air mass. You can definitely get a wintry potential in March and April, but it's not a major winter storm usually, unless you have literally everything lined up just right. So what this tells me is more like the cool spring. Okay, and this is where we're going to be beginning our discussion of, the model guidance is certainly interesting. First of all, our support for a weak, possibly reversal of the polar vortex is very, very clear, very strongly supported as our polar vortex naturally gets weaker. And you can see that here in the model guidance here. We see a nice separation, nice split of the polar vortex. But what does that mean by this time of year? Well, it certainly means that we could get chilly. And the way that the orientation is set up, definitely more focused towards the Rockies and the East Coast this time. But the reason why you got a little bit more of this La Nina feel is that any type of tropical influence here, right now the SOI is kind of hinting more of a La Nina-like feel. That's kind of like an echo of the previous La Nina, as our forcing in the MJO is muted. Again, Enzo really isn't established yet. It's warmer waters, but not really a direct impact in terms of orientation of 500 millibar pattern. So how do you mix all this? Well, this would tell me that we have a more active subtropical jet stream, more moisture, and we have support for amplification of the polar jet stream, but that amplification would suggest more of a trough in the west and a ridge towards the east. So naturally, you get this solution here where you start to get a storm track shifted more towards the Great Lakes. And this ridge certainly would get people excited about spring coming on full. But there's a couple problems here, especially if you start jumping and you start seeing this all over your social media feed with temperatures 20, 24 degrees above normal. You're probably thinking, hey, we'll be in the 70s. but there's an issue. And let me take you back to here, and let's jump to the East Coast. There's a whole lot of cold water here, okay? So let's combine all these factors. You have a storm track that is more likely to shift towards the west, towards the central and eastern Great Lakes. So that would suggest warmer weather, right? It also means warm fronts lifting up from the Tennessee River Valley and heading towards New England. The problem with that is that you have cold water here, and you have a kind of warped block here over the northern Atlantic, more of a positive NAO, but the convergence and confluence, which we are seeing right here, would support some sort of high pressure system. Now, why would you support high pressure system here? Well, first of all, you have upper level convergence confluence, and you have colder water here. So the colder water leads to colder air, which is denser. The density builds up. Combine that with confluence at the upper levels, which means you have mass building up in the upper levels, means that you have some sort of high pressure system right here. And the reason why that's really important is that warm fronts running into high pressure systems that are pretty stubborn and really well supported up in this neck of the woods leads to either backdoor cold fronts, which are cold fronts that drop in this way rather than this way, and you have stalling warm fronts. Combine that with the colder water here sitting off of the coast. I mean, it's obviously been pretty chilly. So as a result, what you end up with is a pretty nasty thermal gradient and a setup here for rather raw weather conditions. So if you start seeing 70s in your app for, let's say, Long Island, New York City, parts of, let's say, northeastern New Jersey, and other parts along the coast, I'd probably pump the brakes on that. Now, if you're in southeastern Pennsylvania, that actually could pull off rather nicely. But in these areas here, with this influence here, well, it's going to be a bit more difficult for that warm air to invade. And what you end up with is a lot of low clouds, a lot of potential for showers. So I'm going to have to watch that very carefully. But I do think that the threat for major winter storms is pretty much at an end. The next time it becomes really favorable for that potential, we have a much higher sun angle, and you have to have literally everything, even more thread than needed than what we had 2 weekends ago, right? So probably pump the brakes on that idea as well. But in terms of a very warm spring, I'm getting kind of the feel of wet, raw, drizzly type scenario here setting up here. But again, it's better than 30 degrees and snow at this point. So currently right now we have high pressure in control, providing tranquil weather conditions. A bit chilly out there with temperatures in the lower to mid 20s over the northern interior, upper 20s to lower 30s along the coast. The temperatures are rapidly rising with plenty of sunshine today. We're going to be getting up into the upper 30s to lower 40s, even a few mid 40s, allowing for more melting. But please use caution. With all this melting going on in the snowpack and then temperatures falling back to around freezing or lower, there's going to be a significant threat for black ice every morning. So please use caution until we get temperatures that are sustained above freezing every morning, which is going to take some time. Currently right now, we have high pressure and control, not much going on the radar. It's pretty quiet. And on the infrared satellite picture, you can see our weather pattern is generally pretty progressive. Our storm here is getting forced to the south and passing away. We have another short wave that is on the way up here that will pass through on Sunday with a few snow showers, maybe an isolated snow squall, especially towards the Hudson River Valley that we'll have to watch out for, but nothing major. And then our pattern begins to shift. So on through really the first half of the weekend, really the whole weekend, you have the same pattern, kind of a ridge in the west, trough in the east. But we start to shift as we get to Monday and Tuesday with more of a trough here in the subtropical jet stream, more moisture, and building heights here. So you start to set that shift, and what you start ending up with is the potential for some wintry mix on Tuesday. But again, notice there's not a lot of forcing here. There's not a lot of organization here. This is not a strong storm. This is just the steps of us going from a wintry cold weather pattern to more of a damp, raw spring weather pattern. And the overall theme here is that we're going to continue with this ridge out here with an amplifying trough out here with stronger and stronger short waves from the subtropical jet stream. The polar jet stream is more, I would guess you would call it almost zonal. And so we don't have a lot of strong short waves here, but what we do have is that convergence and confluence showing up. So what you have as a result is a stationary boundary. Temperatures at 850 millibars are going to end up well above freezing. And so a lot of pesky showers, maybe a little bit of freezing drizzle from time to time in the morning hours, especially over the interior. But a active, unsettled weather pattern with plenty of potential for rainfall, which means melting snowpack, combined with rainfall, might be some minor urban flooding around the region as we head through next week. Taking a look at 700 millibar omega, this gives us a good idea on the lifting factors here. And again, we'll focus in on Tuesday here with that isotropic lifting and that potential for a period of snow changing over to rain. And that shows up very nicely here with 850 millibar temperatures. Again, for today, not too bad, right? I mean, the 850s start to moderate, rather pleasant tomorrow. Temperatures in the lower to mid 40s in some of your areas where you have a deeper snowpack. But other than that, mid to upper 40s, maybe even a few 50s, really melting that snowpack rapidly. And with the ground being warm ahead of before that storm, the snowpack is melting at an even faster rate than what we've seen in previous storms. So that's certainly some good news. Then we get to Sunday with our Arctic front. Our Arctic air mass is in place on Monday. And then watch this rapid. I've been pointing this out to premium members for a couple of days now when the operational model guidance, the GFS, European AI, pick whatever you like, was really dry. I was continuing to suggest there's got to be something out here with all this type of thermal gradient. So I kept the rain, snow, shower theme. Looks like a little bit more organized snow threat setting up for Tuesday morning. But look how fast that warm air wins this fight. So this is not a heavy snowfall event in any way, shape, or form. I've seen the social media posts. It's not going there. But certainly a nice little burst of snow in the morning, changing over to rain for everybody, yep, even the interior. And then for the rest of the week, we are kind of stuck in this thermal gradient between the colder air and the milder air to our south. And as you go lower in the atmosphere, that gradient becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. And especially with the surface temperatures here. Let me see if I can pull that up here. It was around here somewhere. Here we are. Nope, not this one. Sorry. Clicked the wrong one. It was this one. So with this threat setting up, you can see at the surface, we have a much stronger thermal gradient setting up between the chilly air and the warm air. And so as a result, I mean, again, like I was saying, this is a great example of what I'm talking about for the whole spring. You have probably not as cold of air as what we're seeing here, but you have your cold air mass here, you have your warm air mass here. We're kind of caught in between, and the region can range anywhere from the 40s on Long Island to the 60s down here in southeastern Pennsylvania. This is the theme for the spring. I know it's not beautiful, it's not perfect, but hey, at least it's not 20 inches of snow, right? So that's where we're at with this weather pattern. So let's break down the details. For today, look for scattered cloud cover, tranquil conditions, high temperatures for most of the region in the upper 30s to lower 40s, a few mid 30s mixed in there where you have like 30, 40 inches of snow still melting. Then for tonight into tomorrow morning, look for temperatures to fall back into the upper 20s to lower 30s along the coast, lower to mid 20s over the interior. Again, watch out for some black ice around the region on tomorrow morning. Tomorrow afternoon, scattered cloud cover, temperatures rebound into the mid 40s to lower 50s throughout the region. Again, overall, pretty nice day on Saturday. Then we get to Sunday. Our Arctic cold front moves through with some snow showers, possibly a snow squall here and there, but looking at dust into an inch, if that, around the region, with temperatures in the morning ranging from the mid to upper 20s over the northern interior, upper 20s to lower 30s along the coast, and high temperatures ranging from the upper 20s to lower 30s over the northern interior, and mid to upper 30s in the New York City metro, upper 30s to lower 40s in the Philadelphia metro. On Monday, high pressure passes over the region on Monday morning with clear skies and very cold temperatures. Low temperatures in the single digits to lower teens over the interior, lower to mid-teens along the coast. What that means is that there's going to be ice everywhere. Use extreme caution Monday morning, especially if you're driving. Okay, now, Monday afternoon, the high pressure system starts to give way. An area low pressure and a stationary front is lingering to our south that could support a few widely scattered to isolated snow showers and flurries, especially down towards southern New Jersey. Not looking at major precipitation here, but just kind of a little bit more of a pest. High temperatures on Monday will range from the mid to upper 20s over the northern interior, upper 20s to lower 30s along the coast. Again, a very chilly day. Then we get to Tuesday. Now, on Tuesday morning, the warm front lifts north as our low pressure system intensifies in the Ohio River Valley. That's going to lead to just a wintry mixed mess on Tuesday morning. Rough morning rush hour, that is for sure, with the potential for some accumulating snow. But everyone goes over to rain. The question is, how fast does that process play out? It looks like, again, for premium members, I already issued an impact map, kind of the best guess of what to expect in terms of snow accumulation and how fast it changes over to rain. But the overall theme is that the warm air will win out. It's just a question of how fast. Look for low temperatures on Tuesday morning, ranging from the upper teens to lower 20s over the northern interior, lower to mid 20s along the coast. By the time we get to the afternoon hours, we'll have high temperatures ranging from the mid to upper 30s over the northern interior and upper 30s to lower 40s along the coast. Now, once that lifts through, for the rest of the week, we have a stationary front just kind of meandering around the region, leading to a constant threat for scattered showers. And some of those showers will have moderate downpours at times. There will be the potential, if you're heading up towards New England, for more substantial snowfall, but this looks more scattered for us than more of a sustained precipitation event like what we'll see in New England. So we'll keep an eye on that for Friday. Temperatures through the period on Wednesday through Friday will range from the upper 20s to lower 30s over the northern interior, lower to mid to upper 30s along the coast. High temperatures will range from the upper 30s to lower 40s over the northern interior, and mid 40s to upper 40s, upper 30s to lower 40s in the New York City metro, mid to upper 40s in the Philadelphia metro. And again, that frontal boundary will be wavering. So it's going to be a raw week, but gradually warming, and at least will be above freezing. So we have that going for us. That is your premium video forecast discussion for today. Have a wonderful day. Have a great weekend. And as always, stay safe out there.